Good morning, good morning. It's been a long time since we've been on here. Here's with my wife.
Good morning.
So we out here on the track, walking this morning, and it was brought to our remembrance on something that we had looked at earlier during this week from one of the associates, friends slash musician, pastor that I follow on social media, Pastor Chris Dillard, and he was talking about marriage and distractions. And we know all too well on some of the distractions and stuff that the enemy will bring into the relationship, and things that you are working diligently to get over, things will pop up. And how do you deal with that as a married couple? Even in your own mind, in your own body, how do you deal with certain things like that? Truthfully, we still deal with it. We still trying to understand what to do, how to navigate through it. And some of the things that helps us, definitely prayer, definitely reading the word. And I'll say for me, communication has been not my strongest suit, my strongest area in my life. So in our relationship, so I am learning to communicate a little differently with my wife on certain things that bother me, certain things that bother her. And at any given time, the tactic of the enemy is to destroy relationships. It doesn't matter how far you've gone. If you walked up 50 steps, his tactic is to knock you down 60, as though you never started or you never even began the process. And so we're going to just talk a few minutes on what distractions can cause. And when Pastor Chris was talking about how he was praying for marriages, me and my wife were just talking about that probably the day before, and just trying to work out some things in our own relationship and just see what we can do to get things better in our communication and even in our walk.
For me, communication is the biggest thing. I am an introvert by nature, but when it comes to communicating with him, I am more expressive, and so I like to talk things out. And anytime I bring up a subject, he's like, "Uh-oh, here we go." But for me, I like to talk things out so we can get clarity. And oftentimes in relationships, we find it a nuisance to actually have deep conversations, to get off the surface issues and have deep conversations. And the enemy wants to keep us where we don't communicate, when we don't talk. So I think it's important to talk about those hard issues, those issues that you know is going to bring up some pain or possibly start an argument. But I think it's very important to learn how to communicate, to learn how to have those deep communications. We all know what things are hurtful to the people that we love or to our spouses. And it's important to not be petty or to throw jabs, but to really seek understanding, to really communicate, to get to the root of the issue. And because the enemy wants to keep us blinded, he wants to keep us where we are confused. And the more we talk, the more we see our spouse's heart or our children's heart or their intentions. The more we sit down and just communicate, the more we uncover the truth. And I'm learning too, I'm learning that he's not my enemy. The enemy is my enemy. So the more that we're fighting against one another, we're not spending that time trying to get to the root of the issue. So it's important to recognize your spouse is not the enemy. It's also important to recognize that we're not here to win a war. We're not here to win an argument. We're here to get to the truth of the matter. And so oftentimes we want to have that last word. We want to win the argument. We want to make our spouse feel bad. And so we shouldn't be manipulative in our communication. We shouldn't throw jabs. We shouldn't be petty. Spend that time figuring out what's really going on. Spend that time finding a solution to whatever the problem is. And so I think it's important that we just recognize what your triggers are, recognize the enemy. My prayer is that I recognize the enemy when he's trying to distract me, that I have discernment I can recognize what he's trying to do so I can cut him off. And Job talks about the enemy spends all day going to and fro looking for opportunity to cause trouble. Don't give him the door. Don't give him the opportunity, because he's just waiting. He's waiting for that door to open so that he can cause trouble, cause division. His job is to kill, steal, and destroy your relationships, your marriages. And if we're arguing about petty things that are useless, we're not spending that time finding solutions for going to the next level in your marriage, next level in your business, next level in your family, in your finances. And so be strategic on how you handle your relationship, and be intentional in how you handle it, because the enemy, he is strategic and he's intentional on destroying your relationship.
As you've heard, he's very strategic. And I know a lot of people have their own way of dealing with things, but no one gets around without communicating. I was telling a friend the other day, I said also, one way that it helps you with your communication, me and my wife have found different things that we love to do together. And so what happens is, when we spend that time together for a moment, if it's 2 or 3 days, if it's 4 days, if it's 5 days, if it's 7 days, for a moment, the things that are weighty on our heads, the things that are weighty on our heart has been pushed to the side, because now we're spending quality time together. Not that it goes away, but you have something else to think about together and build some new memories.
And also too, when you're spending that time together, the walls come down. Your heart is a little softened, the walls come down. Me and my husband, we discipline our children differently. Our attitudes towards things are differently. He is very soft with them because that's his personality. And with me, I spend the majority of the time with them. I'm more stern. And so I'm learning when he tells me, you know what, you were kind of harsh here, or maybe you should have handled it that way. I'm learning to not take it as a criticism, but to really listen. And so oftentimes we can take our spouse's comments as a critique, and it's not really meant as a critique. It's really meant, a place to help you to be better, help you to improve. And so I'm really learning how to not to take what he says as a criticism, but to take it and use it and apply it and be better.
And vice versa. She tells me, hey, you wasn't stern enough. You wasn't aggressive enough with that situation. And so, I'm like, I thought I was. I'm like, dang. But I mean, hey, it is what it is. We're learning. And so there's certain areas that I have to learn to not be laid back in and to be a little bit more, I'll say, aggressive, and not necessarily in a negative way, but sometimes you have to go to the situation head forward and address certain things. So we're learning that even in this journey, you're forever learning. Does she still get me upset? Yes. Do I still get her upset?
Yes, he does.
Look at that. Look, Seba's upset with a smile today. Today is a smile.
And another thing, when I talked about the critique earlier, the enemy does not want you to receive critique. He wants you to stay in the same place that you're at, stagnant and not growing. He doesn't want you to receive critique from people. And I hear people say, you can't judge me. But sometimes we need that. We need someone to come in and tell us when we're wrong, because you don't want to stay at the same place being wrong. You want to be corrected. And so when he gets on me about some things, in the moment it may sting and I might not like it, but we're learning how to process. I tell him that he can't fix everything, so give me time to process. So that could be an hour, it could be 30 minutes, it might be a whole day. Give me time to process what you said so I can digest it, and I'll get back with you. But I'm learning how to take what he says and really use it and apply it in my life so that I can be better. My goal is to be a better woman of God, a better wife, a better mother, a better sister, a better businesswoman. His strengths are in business. And so when he tells me something, I listen because I want to be better in that area. And so it's important that as a person who is giving the critique, make sure you're giving it, your motives are correct. Make sure you're giving it in love. Make sure you're giving it in the right tone of voice so people can receive you. And as a person receiving the critique, make sure you receive it thinking in your mind, this person is giving me this critique in love and they want me to be better. Don't just take it as a negative thing.
So, distractions can be in every area of our life, but one thing that the enemy does that's so prevalent is makes us work so much that we're tired. And then when we're tired, then our attention span, our emotions, everything is weakened to where every little thing bothers us. And instead of attacking the situation, which is sleep and rest, we attack one another on little petty stuff. And so I'm over there like, what the heck? What I do? And then she like, you did such and such and such. And I'm like, oh man, I'm just so tired. My brain so tired. But even the critique that she gives, like last time we had a conversation, I didn't say nothing. I just sat back and just listened because I started saying, Lord, for this situation, okay, what am I not seeing? What am I missing? And so I'm trying to learn that what she's saying, that I'm hearing. And guess what? Sometimes I don't hear because I can be caught up in my own emotional things and things. And so when you're not listening to your spouse, that causes a distraction as well. Because now neither one of you are hearing one another because you're in your own way. But one of the major things that helps us, for those that are not Christian, for those that do not believe in this godly Christian walk, prayer, reading your word, and getting closer to God helps open up your spirit, man, to have discernment. Because everything is not your spouse. Some stuff is, but not everything. And so when you have to look at yourself and say, Gabriel, what is your part in this? What is the word of God saying to you on what you need to fix on the inside of you that's going to help you to be a better husband, be a better father, be a better business person, a better friend, better brother, all of the above. And one thing the enemy does, because God is all about covenant. And so if he can destroy the covenant that you have with your spouse, then it goes and trickles down to the kids and even to the family and everything. And so distractions are very prevalent. And as you know, statistics are very high in the Christian church from the divorce, separation. And so we're fighting, not fighting each other, but we're trying to fight the spirit of what the enemy is trying to do and bring division. And if he can bring that in the family, he's already infiltrated the church.
I agree.
Hey, I know it's been a minute for Soulful Laughter to come on here, but we want to say we love you all, and we pray that you have a wonderful day and let go of those distractions.
Have a great day.